Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. I think we have more people coming, so they'll fill in as they come. But thank you for being on time. I'm very excited to welcome you to this session today. This is something that we have been thinking a lot about in the youth movement. How do we make sure that the finance is bolder? How do we make sure that we actually get the support we need, that the capacity building for youth exists, and that we're not just seen as the youth movement in the streets, but also the people building the future? And that requires a lot of trust. It requires a lot of kind of big bets for us, but also just knowing that we are going to be the future stewards of all of the climate solutions that people are talking about in these spaces. And if we are not trusted with the implementation of those climate solutions, then we are really leaving the next generation out of these conversations. So I'm really excited that we're going to have this conversation today. We're going to have 3 different pitches from different youth organizations that are present here today: Youth for Nature, GAO, and Re-Earth Initiative. I am representing Re-Earth Initiative today. I am the founder and executive director. And the reason why I started Re-Earth Initiative was because I was part of the climate strike movement, and I realized that what worked in the global north was not the same that worked in the global south. And that is something that a lot of movements haven't understood about youth in the global south, that it's not going to be the same type of mobilization, the same type of activism that gets us activated. And if our circumstances are different, then the solutions and the tactics need to be different. Re-Earth Initiative today focuses on accessibility, on inclusivity, on collaboration, on optimism, and on reciprocity. Those are our main values, and that leads everything that we do. We have something called our regranting program, because we realize that, and I'm sure you've all heard this statistic, that less than 1% of all environmental funding goes towards youth and climate solutions. And if we wanted to change that, we needed to be part of that change. So we started the regranting program, which has so far awarded over 75 grantees across the world, mainly in the global south. And it's over half of our grantees had never gotten a grant before. We have given probably so far committed close to $500,000, which is a lot for a youth organization, and we are extremely proud of that. And we also believe that if we want the world to embrace this new type of funding, the radical, if we want if we want the world to embrace this new type of funding for youth organizations, we need to show that it's possible. We need to show that by funding one youth organization, that they are able to receive funding, that they are able to run a project, to implement it, to write a report, and we support with all of that. So we will be sharing more of that today, but the session overall is really how can we get to the next page of supporting the youth movement holistically? How can we make sure that as we grow older in our professional careers, we're not left behind just with this kind of label of youth that doesn't really mean intergenerational collaboration, it doesn't mean co-creation, it doesn't mean co-building. So I'm really excited for what we're going to do today, and I'm really delighted to welcome you and thank you for joining. So first off, we're going to start with our innovator pitch number 1, which is going to be by Youth for Nature. Juliana Rodriguez is going to join us on stage with her pitch. So please give a big round of applause to Juliana, and thank you again for joining us here today.
Hi everyone, I am Juliana Rodriguez. I'm from Colombia and I'm part of Youth for Nature. We are a by youth for youth international nonprofit that basically focuses on equipping, establishing, and educating youth as the leaders that we already are on all the system-wide solutions on the ecological and climate crisis that we are facing right now. But we are especially rooted in traditional and scientific knowledge, and also we focus on international justice. I want to emphasize here that we focus both in nature and climate. We don't see like the issues divided as we usually treat this, because you see we have a climate, a COP, and then a biodiversity COP. For us, it's important to see this as a whole. So why what we do matters? Okay, so imagine that you are a young activist worried about the climate crisis and the nature crisis. Then you start engaging in climate nature work, right? But then while you keep working on this space, you probably are gonna face toxic environment that are gonna promote hyper individualism, tokenism, and extractive relationships. And these also encourage competition over collaboration. So I know my fellow youth activists know what I'm talking about. And on top of that, we also experience little to no resources to do what we want to do. So this is like making it even harder for us to engage. So we keep going, we keep trying, but we are humans, and at the end, we burn out. And we face disempowerment, and this forces us to leave the movement, and also to leave the movement with like reduced political ambition or trust, and this like also ends in the climate and nature crisis continuing to worsen, and then not having much people working on that. So these are the challenges and barriers that we tackle in Youth for Nature. So here is how we did it. First, we have like main pillars that are like the capacity building, the knowledge sharing, the storytelling, and like building organizations worldwide. So these basic pillars for us are what allow us to keep pushing to tackle these barriers. So we focus on educating youth about like the root problems and the solutions that are available for us to pitch and keep working on. We also equip to like all youth to keep being the leaders and necessary change makers and experts that the field needs, especially because youth are very bold and we are capable in imagining things outside the system, but we need like the resources to do that. So Youth for Nature focuses a lot on equipping people to do this, and also establishing youth leaders as both local and global leaders through different opportunities. And all of this that we do is looking for a purpose that is a world where communities thrive with nature and across generations. So this is the impact we have had so far. It's a lot of letters, I know, but keep with me. And we're gonna start from bottom to top. First, we have been able to fundraise more than 2 million of Canadian dollars, but this is especially important because this money has gone to green jobs, youth green jobs, that you know, my youth fellows here, how hard it is to get a paid job in the movement. So we're very proud that we're able to actually support people that are giving their 100% through salaries and like dignified salaries. And on top of that, we have distributed part of the money that we have fundraised for to support our volunteers and address their participation needs. Because sometimes in the movement it's overlooked that for being a volunteer, you need internet, you need a geared computer, and then we want to make sure that all our team has the basic needs to work with us. And also through this fundraising that we have done, we have supported in the local level through a small grant to different groups implementing climate and nature solutions, so solutions that tackle both the biodiversity and climate crisis. And that's like an opening of our Inuka MBS accelerator. This project through this project, we were able to support 3 youth-led MBS projects in Kenya, which was very successful, and the groups were able to increase the livelihoods of their local communities. So with this, we just didn't impact just the youth that we were supporting, but also their communities. And finally, we have also supported 9 youth delegations, especially from the Global South. That's the reason I'm today here, because we focus a lot on having this South representation in these big spaces that are so challenging and sometimes very segregated, like to voices on the North. So we have pushed forward to bring more than 50 youth to these biodiversity and climate spaces. So how do we know like that what we do works, actually. Well, the impact that I have shown you also comes from our basis, that is that we are focused totally in being youth for youth, and also that we are horizontal. This is kind of new because we are always used to work in hierarchical structures, but we are pushing forward like the idea that we are all equal and that we can all equally contribute to the decisions that are taken. So that's also the part of being decentralized, because all decisions are taken together as a group. And we go from global to local. That's why you see local. No, that's not a typo. That is a concept we are trying to push forward. And also hybrid. Most of our work is online, but we also do this on the ground work. And we also have internal development and career growth that allows our volunteers that are global ambassadors to acquire skills that will take them to get jobs in the industry further down the road. But we want to here also talk about the challenges we have faced. And one of the challenges we have faced is that we have restrictive funding opportunities. So of course, maybe when you pitch for a grant, it's not that sexy to say, I'm gonna pay people. That's like, okay, so what's the woohoo thing on that? But I mean, paying people, especially youth that are working on the climate and nature space, is very important. And we face a lot of prioritization of long-term thematics over long-term projects or operations. So that's very hard for us to look for unrestricted funds or to look for grants that are actually considering how to support people. So this is why we say that a lot of funders focus more on results over people, and that's kind of hurting us because for us, people is first, and of people power is like the main priority for Youth for Nature. So that's like think that like a barrier that we need to tackle to be able to address fundraising better. And also we all know that during these like shifting political situations, also there are shifting priorities among fundraising, and these shifting priorities not always are focused on people, but in what looks best, right, for the current trends. So that's a challenge we have faced. So recommendation for funders, very quick, is to support growth of people and not just immediate results, because taking care of people might not be able to put in a number, but it's very important. And make also space for cooperations and emergent needs. And finally, remain committed to climate justice regardless of the political escapes, because we are still here regardless of what's happening on like the highest spheres of politics, and the grassroots movement need that support and that equilibrium. So this is us. Thank you for listening. And now I'm gonna pass the microphone to our next speech. That is Matthew.
Hello, guys. Hello. Oh. I'm going to speak about Youth Climate Council, but first I'm going to explain what it is and where it comes from. Youth Climate Councils come from the COP in Madrid, COP25. And basically, it starts in Poland, thinking that the youth should be also in the decision-making and the making policies. And these youth climate councils in Poland inspire all the youth climate councils. For example, the ones in Ghana, the ones in Denmark, and also Netherlands, and also Brazil, that we have a youth climate councils. So what I'm gonna be speaking, and what we'll be showing here is extra information if you need. So let's go. There is one thing that the youth climate councils from Europe, from the global north, have, that the youth climate councils from the global south doesn't have, is financial support. So basically, the ones from the north have the support from the government, and we need help from the third sector, which is Gaio, the Green African Youth organization, which help us a lot. Margaret is the one that creates and helped us. I'm going to show her picture. Where is she? Oh, she's not here. So we did a lot of things. Oh, sorry, this is objective. Um, we have a lot of plans. One of them is bring education to the schools and also work with the NDCs, work establishing youth climate conscience in other countries. And for example, we are trying to establish a youth climate conscience in Argentina right now. And yeah, and we have a representative from Cameroon here as well, if you want to know his perspectives. I'm going to show the other one. So yeah, we are also trying, at least in Brazil, get the NDCs to have the word child and youth, because we are not the future, we are the present. And that's one thing really hard to do, because the government is not helping us, the youth in Brazil. I know you can see a lot of Brazilians here, but we have this struggle to have these participations in some places. We are also recruiting new coordinators to work with us and everything. And yeah, now is the challenges. And the challenge, what I'm gonna say is something personal. Like in Brazil, our youth climate council is stopping working right now because we don't have money to work volunteering, and we were. Huh? You stay here. Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. I like walking, so sorry. Um, we have a problem. The youth climate council in Brazil right now is having a massive challenge because we don't have many people, and a lot of people doesn't want to work for free. So we had to stop working, from the Conju Clima. Myself and the Luan are the only representatives from the Youth Climate Council in Brazil here. But at the same time, we are trying to recruit more people, and we can just do that with financial support. And unfortunately, the reality in Brazil is different from the people from the global north. And I know with you is the same in Africa, in the Cameroon, because we have a reality that we need work, we need study, we need a lot of things. And without the financial support, we cannot do many things. And like we in Brazil, we did so far. We had the meetings with Lula, the president of Brazil, in the COP27. No, in the COP27, 28. We are also working the environmental parliament in Brazil. So we are doing a lot of things, but we are getting short of numbers because we don't have money. So that's the issue that I can bring from the perspectives of Brazil. So yeah. And this is everyone. As you can see, everyone is working volunteering, but everyone is happy. You can see my smile here. I'm sorry, I'm gonna walk. Look how happy I am. We work happy. We are all happy. We are doing changes for Brazil and for across the globe. But yeah, let's see if there is more things. So yeah, our partners is here. COP30, Foundings, the Gaio, and yeah. If decisions about climate futures are being made, then our voice must be in the room. That's true. So yeah. So yeah, and this is my boss, Margaret. Diego is the Latin American. He's from Argentina. We have Fodey, the Africa coordinator, and the Mary, also executive assistant. Unfortunately, they are not here because the flights are quite expensive to come to Brazil. But yeah. So yeah, thank you. And if you guys need any perspectives from Africa, we have my friend here to help, okay? Thank you very much. So yeah, I don't know who is the next one. It's you? It's you, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to quickly set up and stand in one place for the benefit of the camera. Okay. Once again, thank you everybody for coming and for being here with us. Thank you also to everyone who will be presenting later for coming here. So today I'm here on behalf of Re-Earth Initiative, and I'm going to share a little bit about what we are doing to try to innovate the grant-making landscape in the climate justice world. What we do through our re-granting program is offering youth-to-youth innovative funding directly to the front lines. We believe that it is important to trust the work that is being done by youth on the ground. The question we try to ask ourselves when we design our own funding program is, what kind of funding do youth and frontline projects need? What kind of funding do they want? And how can we offer that? So there are three main things we try to do. The first is tailor capacity building and ensure that capacity building is being built with our grantees in mind. The second is we value lived experience and grassroots work. What that means for us is that we try to bet in people and organizations rather than in results. And finally, of course, we try to, as much as we can, to center our idea of success on community-based learning, on the insights that they have on how their projects are going and how their initiatives are getting on. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this third one now. So, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about what it means for us to focus on community-based learning and to trust the insights that come from our grantees. We are going currently through a process of co-creating innovative parameters that reflect the success of what really matters for them. We have developed a 38 personalized set of baseline indicators for every single one of our grantees in this cycle 2. They are going to be reviewing them with us and co-creating the final list that they will use for their reports. We'll have a midterm report and end-term report, but we are also establishing what we like to call our Re-Earth Peers Network. Through this, we will be connecting our RAY staff to grantee partners, and grantee partners will have the chance to discuss how their project is going, how measurement is going, how they're getting on with reporting, and all of the things that come along with this directly with our staff. Our idea is to try and take a step forward in bolder peer and partner-driven work rather than donor-driven reporting mechanisms. As I mentioned, the way we are doing this is both through our peer system and through our co-created indicators. I know that this might sound a little bit logistically challenging to have this individual personalized baseline indicators, but we believe that it's actually not, because this way we are able to facilitate the process for them and for us. We are able to actually understand what we are measuring and what we define to be success. We try to invest not in results, but in projects and in people. We believe in the ability of people to find out what are going to be the solutions of the future. But also, as Matteo said, we are not just the future and we are also the present. It is important for us to be able to invest in these programs today, even if we can only do so in small amounts. Obviously, we are trying our best to innovate the grant-making field, but I think, as Shia mentioned, we are working with amounts that are intended at seed funding. We give small seed grants to all of our projects between $5,000 and $15,000 for them to implement, and then further on, we hope that they are able to get bigger grants. This is also why we are implementing our personalized baseline indicators, so that in the future they can have value-driven data that they can show to bigger donors and hopefully secure larger amounts of funding and upscale the projects. We really focus on trying to support them in the process of starting off so that later on they can have a good base to scale up and to expand. There are loads of inspiring stories and loads of optimism that we come across in these projects. So we are very, very proud of the work we are able to do through them. And as a small closing, I just wanted to say that I think today we've spoken quite a lot about different initiatives and different things that are happening. But ultimately, what we are hoping to do here is to inspire, and to inspire other donors and inspire bigger donors to be bolder, to be more innovative, and to trust the work that is being done by young people all over the world. Thank you. I'm going to now introduce the panel because we are now moving on to our panel. We're going to have four speakers, and Shie, who did our wonderful opening remarks, will also be doing the moderation for us. So if I can please ask all of our panelists to come up on the stage while I get the mic to Shie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, hello. I feel like this one is not as loud as the other one, right? Sorry. Okay, perfect. Okay, it works. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for all of you who were presented. I think it's important to see what we're doing in our organizations, what challenges we're facing. And thank you all for joining us in this panel today, because we know that this is a really important conversation that needs to be growing. So for my first question that I want to ask everybody is, first, if you could introduce yourselves, but most importantly, I think it's important to understand our stories so that we can understand each other better and see what actually brings us here. So my first question is, why did you get into this work? And why do you think it's important to support youth in the climate movement? And please start with your name and your organization as well, please. And we can start from the end to here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, I am Kamori. I am from Thailand, and I represent the Elevate Children Funders Group because Chila couldn't make it, unfortunately, but she sends her support. I am their Youth for Impactful Philanthropy Fellow, which means I work with Elevate to understand how young people can be better capacitated and better understand the philanthropic landscape. I am interested in climate and philanthropy and young people because this intersection is one of the most underfunded intersections in the entire climate space, and it's very difficult to fund movements despite the movements being so impactful. So I'm very interested in learning more about how philanthropic actors, intermediaries might be able to step in when traditionally they've always been funding your traditional registered local NGOs. How might we fund young climate activists, young climate movers and shakers? So that has been my inspiration and why I do what I do.
Is this on? Okay. Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Nayara. I am part of Global Fund for Children's staff. And I'm from Brazil, more specifically from São Paulo. And I actually had, like my work trajectory comes from the grassroots movement. And I was actually part of the fundraising staff, and just had like the need to fundraise for a national youth-led organization that maybe many of you have heard. It's called Engajamundo. And I mean, we all know, and I was, like the person responsible for it, how hard it is to fundraise. And we've heard several examples here on, like the barriers that youth-led and young people from very different perspectives and backgrounds face when trying to fundraise and when trying to survive really in this environment and doing the work that they're doing. So I think that was what motivated me to work with philanthropy because, like really trying to empower and trying to facilitate access to resources from young people from very different backgrounds. I mean, I think that's that's what inspires me, and it's good to be like in this intersection of working on the ground and really trying to educate really the philanthropic ecosystem into better practices and to doing better.
Bom dia. Bom dia. Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be with you today. I hope you can hear me well. It sounds a bit. This noise over there is completely. Is it okay? Good. Are we being live streamed? Is this being live streamed? Yeah. For people who are not at COP, you're very lucky because you're not hearing a horrible noise of. But we are gonna manage. So I'm Raíza, and I use she and her pronouns. And I think my motivation to do this kind of work is both love and hate. And love comes at the love that I feel for my nephew and niece. I was just with them this past weekend, and I love them very much. I love my friends, I love my family, I love clean air, I love being in the outdoors, I love eating good food, I love just hanging out and enjoying life. I really love life, and I really love being alive. And one of my biggest fears is exactly not being able to experience all these kind of things. And the hate comes from living in a tiny, tiny apartment in an urban city. It's called Belo Horizonte in Minas Gerais. I'm Brazilian, by the way. And feeling like mining extracted all possibilities of having a thriving culture and access to nature, having a lot of hate for not having access to opportunities to influence politics, because since very early I had many opinions about how things should be done and just couldn't have access to them, and feeling like my working class background and my family didn't give me all the opportunities of the things that I wanted to do in my life. So the hate fuels me to create the conditions so other people don't have the same kinds of experiences I had. And the love also motivates me so I can have a role in protecting everything that is precious and beautiful about the planet. I work as an advisor to philanthropies. So I advise, wow, oh my God, peace. The noise just stopped. So I work as an advisor, and I'm in between funders and organizations, and I'm telling them how to fund climate and nature solutions and how to do this in a way that is fair and just and inclusive. You have your mic.
It's working. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, thank you for the invitation to U4Nature to be here to talking about youth, to talk about financial. I'm Regilon, but people call me Regis. From Brazil as well. We have 3 panelists, Brazilian here, so it's a little bit stranger. Stay in my country and not speak Portuguese. So bom dia a todo mundo. Welcome to Belém. Welcome to our country. It's an amazing opportunity to be here, and I think my inspiration to be here and working with youth and funding is to occupy the spaces that are not made for us. And I'm work at Casa Social Environmental Fund. It's an organization that was created by activists for activists. And in this space, I saw the importance that is discussed about financial reach those communities, funding reach those initiatives. And I'm starting this third sector, writing a project to clean a river and receive support to French Embassy and partnership with Casa Fund. So after to have the opportunity to stay in this team and share and implement the youth perspective inside the philanthropy was an amazing opportunity.
Thank you so much all for sharing. I really enjoy listening to what brings you here, what drives you. And also, we are a pretty young panel in general, so that also gives me a lot of hope about the future of philanthropy and what we can do when we think of different ways of doing things. So my next question is really if you could share an anecdote, a story of either the hardest time that you've had to fundraise or the biggest challenges that you have seen in, especially kind of like really big legacy philanthropy. And if you don't have an example for that, which I feel like many of us do, but if you don't want to share that, you could also share about your favorite project that you've ever worked with or supported and what made it so special. I think that's something that we need to learn is like how can youth appeal to these funders, because there are obviously there's issues with registration, there's issues with being able to bring large amounts of funds, and a lot of funders don't want to give small amounts over and over again. So there's like a lot of barriers that we have. So if we could have you share either the largest barriers or the favorite projects, and if you want to do both, that's also fine. Anybody do you want to get us started?
Sure. So I think on my way here, I was talking to Sheila. One of the biggest issues, not only at Elevate, but I think in philanthropy right now, is when will your local philanthropist / charity wind down? When will they set up a time frame to step out of the community and not create the codependency between the local communities that are being helped and the charity or organization itself? I think that is currently the biggest challenge that all philanthropists are thinking about. It used to not be this way. There wasn't being talked, a wind down wasn't being talked about a lot in philanthropy until recently, because we started seeing a lot of codependency, not only between the global north and the global majority, where legacy philanthropies would step in, but also between local communities and their local charities. So currently that is the biggest challenge, and we're thinking of how to capacitate communities in order to really step out and shut the doors of philanthropists and make sure that the work is done and it's not continued in a way that is extractive, imperialistic, or colonial.
I think for me, one of the biggest words that I hear as an advisor and that I heard when I was fundraising for youth projects is the word risk. So we all come with wounds, and we all have our own relationships with money, and money is something that is very sensitive to us. And when we talk about funders, it's like we group them, but they are very different. We have individuals that just happen to be rich, just happen by me accumulating capital. You have institutional donors, and then you have also companies, and especially in the case of institutional donors and companies, the people that are working for these positions do not necessarily come as completely clean, and they have their own money traumas, their own safeties and security around money, and their own feelings of scarcity. So many of them bring this, and they reproduce this into a logics when they are approached by young people to fund. And with this, I want to say that there are many ways to approach risk and to mitigate risks and to be comfortable with the risks. One way, and this is coming to the solutions that bring me hope, is pooled funds. So bringing funds together with other funders so you can share the risks. We have a pooled fund like this for young people at Impatience Earth. Using regranters, because after all, a funder of original funding, meaning a funder with an endowment or a funder that is, Mackenzie's called like a rich person because got stocks from Amazon, may not necessarily have the best way to target grassroots communities, may not have the best networks, may not have the best infrastructure to make the funding goals where it needs. So this is an advice that we share a lot with our clients. Seek regranters because they are experts at doing exactly this, and to do this in a just way. And also to put your hands and do some research, because this is also the kind of like a burden that very often lies with fundraisers, to do research and to change the language of the work you do to meet the funder expectations. But funders are the ones with personnel, funders are the ones with paid staff that can actually do this kind of research, or then consultants. So this would be my solutions around risk.
Well, that's a very big question, and I think that we could talk about this for hours, and yet not come to all of the solutions because I think that there are many. But I guess that what I would like to mention is that at Global Fund for Children, we work together. We partner with the community-led organizations that we support. And I think that that means that we don't, I mean, obviously there's the financial part of it, and there is a power dynamic that we have to acknowledge, but I think that we really try to collaborate, to generate this sense of partnership with our grantees. And I think that that is, like part of the risk and the bonus into, like funding community-based, funding youth-led, funding those that are really, like making the work, and that are in the ground, in the grassroots, and yeah, leading the work and leading the solutions. And this may not be like one anecdote, but I think that one of the things that we hear most from our partners is that we have this humanized approach. And what that means is that, as like many of the examples that we've heard, is that we're really trying to support, to strengthen, and to build the capacity on people, on those leaders that are, like leading the work, that are leading the communities, that are mobilizing and creating change, rather than, like looking for results and funding projects and, like give me everything and, like accountability and, like your full reports detailed on everything that you did. Rather than that, we're trying to build relationships, and we're trying to build trust. And that also means among them, not just, like from, like us as grantors with the grantees, but also creating, like the peer learning communities, because we really believe on that. We're weaving solutions. We're working together on this, and this. I think that this is part of like one of the solutions that we're trying to build. Like on creating that work and really connecting people that are doing from different, very very different backgrounds, very different strategies, but like ultimately we're trying to do the same here. So I think that like centralizing their voices, their needs, and really putting care also at the center. I mean, this is a human relationship, right? I mean, obviously there's the financial side of it, but I mean, we're all humans, and then I think that like understanding that and really operating this and working as collaborators, I think that this really highlights everything that we do. And I don't know if we're going to have another round, but I really wanted to mention that at Global Fund for Children, we've been trying more and more to work with participatory grant-making models, which I do believe it's one of the best practices that philanthropy could take on, because really is like an example of sharing power. Because again, we need to acknowledge that there is a power dynamic in the ecosystem, but at the same time, like the philanthropic ecosystem needs to understand that we have a responsibility to share that power and to really put communities and leaders at the center of everything that we do. And this is not like it can't be tokenistic. It can't be symbolical. It really needs to be in a proactive and with a lot of intentionality on how do we actually share the power that we hold as like philanthropy with everyone that is in the ground creating solutions already and really like resisting and building resilience.
Thank you for the question. I agree with all the panelists, and CASA was created to promote sustainability, democracy, respect for the social environmental rights, and climate justice. This year we complete 20 years of experience supporting more around 5,000 projects in whole country, and we can show that yes, it's possible to do this with youth initiatives. So Casa Fund, it's not a youth fund, but a social environmental fund and support initiative led by women, grassroots communities. But it's not easy, but it's possible to do this when we co-create, when we made a real listening process with this movement. And and we can't just start doing the things without listening. So I want to share that the last COP28, we invited the youth present in Dubai, the Brazilian youth, to participate there. Climatito esteve presente, will be there. And we asked how to the challenges to access funding and how can we do this together with this youth. And as you for nature mentioned it, the barriers, the challenges is lack of formal registration of this initiative, bureaucracy system that not reflected the reality in the territories, funding for urban vulnerable territories, and that need not just resources, not just funding, but um, workshops with to strengthening their capacity to administration and financial knowledges to create their solution. And I bring the experience in Casa Fund that I had the opportunity to coordinate a call to propose that call traditional and peripheries you facing environmental racism. It's a call that we made to support initiative and whole country. We received around 200 projects, but we had funding to support just 20% of the demand. And we support 35 projects in 18 Brazilian states. And it's amazing to share with you because if we had funding, we of course, supported around 60% of this initiative. They are led by the traditional communities. They are led in not just in the Amazon region, and it's important to reinforce here because, especially in that COP30 that we are here in the Amazon region, but we have in Brazil 6 rich biomes. We have Amazonia, Cerrado, Caatinga, Pampa, Pantanal, Mata Atlântica that I'm coming from. And we have traditional communities in all these states, in all these biomes, sorry. And when we create this with this listening process and real listening process, when we co-create together, when we co-create together, we can do the real things in the territory because the ensure it's stay in the territory and the ensure are led with this initiative led by youth in the grass. So I think it is. I answered the question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so happy from everything that I've heard from pool funding, sharing risk, regranting, doing meaningful research, collaborating meaningfully with the human approach. You really gave us so much there. Also, care at the center, participatory grant making, real listening, and capacity building for financial knowledge for youth grantees. I think you have already given us so much of the solutions and the best practices that we need to tackle, I think, this new era of climate financing. And I just to close quickly, because we're almost at time, I just want 1 or 2 sentences of your vision of the future. It doesn't really have to be like the best practices that we see, but really, what is the world that we're heading towards? What world do we envision to build together? How do we really put courage? And I think all of you are courageous, so maybe it's like, how do we make sure that other people can feel that courage in this process? So if we could close with that, and thank you so much for what you've already shared.
So shortly, just wanted to talk about ECFG's Weaving Collective Tapestry. How do we build a future together? Is a future that involves co-participatory grant making, a future that involves intergenerational dialogue, intergenerational equity, and a future that acknowledges that young people are at the forefront, and underfunded young people will never allow for a future that is fully realized by all of us. Passing it on to you.
I wasn't prepared for this. But I think that I mean, I have so many things that I could share right now, and this has been so inspiring because I think it is. I mean, I think it makes my heart a little bit more. We have a saying here in Brazil that it's like my heart is warm right now because it's very great to hear from like other colleagues on like how we are reshaping the philanthropic sector, and I think that that's like one of my hopes for the future is that like we're not looking at like philanthropy as a like something that is from the distance, but rather, like really having like all the voices, especially from, like the most vulnerable communities in the center of everything that we're doing, and like reshaping and really leading all the work, especially when like where money goes to, how it goes to, how this should be operated, and what is success for us. I think that we've heard so many barriers, and we are so aware of everything that needs to change. And I think that like my hope for the future really is that we are like really listening, and with our open hearts and boldness and courage to take on those those insights and perspectives and really make the changes that the sector needs. And I know that I've shared more than one or two sentences, but we also have created this. I can share this later, but these are literally like the voices of young people trying to make like what does it mean to be an allied philanthropy, and I think that that's my hope for the future, that like the philanthropists are an ally on the climate justice fight, and on like really sharing power with those that need to be at the core of this. Thank you.
I love this question on courage because I'm super scared of flying. And yesterday, when I was on my way to Belém, I was freaking out in the plane. And one of the things for me is that it's very difficult to have courage when I feel alone. And this is exactly how I feel in a plane. So I get way more scared. And at Impatience Earth, we believe that founders don't need to walk in this journey by themselves. They don't need to be the bravest people in the room alone. They have help. Help is available. And you can go together. And it's going to be much easier. And it's going to be much more productive to have courage in that way.
And to conclude, I want to refer the participate we hold deeply at Casa Fund. Climate justice must be financed through mechanisms that respect, strengthen, and learn from the people and youth who keep this planet alive. And I want to share this public that we launched here in our 20 years in Casa Fund. It's where are the resources to the climate? The scenario to the climate financial to civil society of the global south. Because we have the answer led by youth and traditional communities. We have the mechanisms, legitimate mechanisms that can make sure that these resources arrive. And we have money in this COP, like adaptation fund and other huge structure that has the money, but they don't reach in the territories. So it's necessary to recognize this structure and guarantee our partnership to more funding for youth. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such an incredible conversation. I am really, really happy to, it gives me so much hope to see that there are people like you in these spaces. Something that we do at Re-Earth Initiative to try to reframe the way in which we see money is, instead of saying that we're regranting only, we're saying we're redistributing. So it's our stewardship of our collective funds as the movement that we're just stewarding to redistribute. And I think that just change in mindset has helped us a lot to feel like we really are here to serve each other, to help us move forward together. And I think if I can just give a challenge to everybody here, it would be, what does it take for you to be a bit more courageous when it comes to youth and to work more intergenerationally, because it's also not okay for youth to just silo ourselves and not think about how we are also going to reach out to those who have so much experience, and we just need to actually build the world together. So thank you again so much. Can we give a big round of applause to the panel for sharing so many incredible insights with us? Thank you.